Another week of turmoil for lawmakers as backlash from constituents grows with no resolution to the end the government shutdown. Democrats also dealing with inter-party issues over New York's mayoral race, less than a month away. The likely frontrunner is Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani, who has not yet received public support from Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, both from New York City as well. NewsNation media contributor Steve Krakauer joins me now. Steve, I don't think Mamdani needs their support. Do you?
No. In fact, it actually almost works to his benefit to not have their support. It gives him that credibility of this insurgent outsider, and perhaps that is why he is doing so well. This is someone who was a non-factor in the primary. This was a gigantic Democratic primary, involved obviously Andrew Cuomo and other candidates who had a lot more name recognition than Zohran Mamdani, but through social media and through a message that really resonated, a message of safety on some level, on financial stability, and on decreasing prices, decreasing rent stabilization. He was able to make massive waves. And yes, I actually think it works to his benefit. We're a month away from this election. Zohran Mamdani looks like the kind of candidate that is going to completely change the Democratic Party and away from the establishment types like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, who don't have the juice in our culture today, in our political culture. He is kind of like this insurgent outsider. I hate to say it, kind of like Donald Trump was with the GOP.
I said Donald Trump. He reminds me of Obama, just very different from what the political norm had been. And Democrats have been talking about how they need a message. They need a message. And it seems like this new voice seems to be capturing a lot of attention. Some Mamdani allies believe the DNC and other legacy Democrats are tone deaf, caring for big donors first rather than voters. And you talked about his social media campaign, how he would just go and sit and talk to people in the street. Hey, what's bugging you? Prices, rent is too high. I never saw the others who were big names do that.
No, and in fact, one of his most viral videos came a long time ago. This was right after Trump won the election. He went out to areas, minority neighborhoods in New York City, talked to Black voters, Hispanic voters about what they thought of Donald Trump and why he found Black and Hispanic voters who voted for Donald Trump. And he asked them why. What appealed to you about them? What did we do wrong as a Democratic Party? And it really went viral, and it shows that he was listening. And I have to say, I think that it's a message that is really resonating. And what was so interesting about that, and what has been interesting throughout his campaign, and I have to say, is completely different than if you look at his social media posts from 2020, 2021, defund the police and queer liberation and blah, blah, blah. His campaign is not about identity politics. It has not been that. It has been about economic messaging. It has been about kitchen table issues, and that has really resonated.
Democrats, are you listening? I guess is the question his camp will be asking. I do want to switch now to Musk and his latest push to cancel Netflix. What's up with that? Saying that children's shows like Coco Melon and Strawberry Shortcake promote trans agenda and sexualized content. What am I missing?
Yeah, well, there has been a few of these viral videos going on, and some of the shows that we've seen that have gotten attention in the last week or two have been really obscure ones, but I think certainly, speak to the point of trans messaging that has come and aimed at youth with cartoons and others. Will it work, though? I'm not sure. Listen, Elon Musk has an enormous platform, but he is enormously polarizing, and increasingly more so. His association with X has really alienated certain people on the other side. And so I'm not sure there's going to be this massive undertaking to go and cancel Netflix subscriptions. We've seen a little bit here and there, but that's a big ask. People love Netflix. People like a streamer. And even if they choose not to watch those programs and say, okay, those are not for kids, or that doesn't align with what I want my kids to see, there's a lot of other things on Netflix. So I think the point is that he's going after Netflix, and I think it's like the titans going after each other.
Right.
But I'm not so sure it's going to be really effective on the bottom line of Netflix.
Hey, I'm keeping my Netflix. I love a show called Beauty in Black by Tyler Perry.
Okay.
Thank you very much. NewsNation media contributor Steve Krakauer, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.